And I think it would be great content. But at the end of the day, it just wouldn't make sense for none of the girls. Like, let's be real. They're above that.
Agreed.
They are mothers. Like,
it's done.
To do all that, knowing the tension, knowing that it gets real in real life. Yeah. Like, they not. You can dangle all the money in the world. I feel like ain't no none of them agreeing to that. Maybe Nicki will agree if she says Trump is gonna sit next to her. But you know. But, and then, Cardi not showing up because she can't stand that motherfucker.
Blah, blah, blah. Welcome back to another episode of the Petty Headquarters podcast. I'm your host, Yana Locke, and this is
Jessie Strange.
And we are back at it again with another episode, y'all.
Yes, we are. Here we are. And if you guys are new, hello, welcome. We're the Petty Headquarters. We're a pop culture podcast. We cover things like reality TV, pop culture, internet culture, and baddies.
Right. So welcome to the Petty Posse and the Crash Out community members. Welcome back, all of y'all.
Yes. Oh, and also, I know a lot of listeners are not subscribed, so please subscribe. It's free $99. We'd appreciate it.
Yes, please subscribe. That makes a huge difference. Tell a friend, share it. You know how the case is. So let's just get into this week's dose of mess.
Yes.
So Maury Povich, how do you pronounce his last name?
Oh, got me fucked up. I didn't even know he had a last name.
Povich. Maury, okay? The iconic Maury show, right? Similar to the Jerry Springer show. Maury kind of just was like, you are not the father. It was one of those things where he did lie detector tests, paternity tests, all of that, just to see and settle if, the father of this child is the father.
Right.
And that shit obviously was a hit, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Back in the day, dude, I remember getting ready for school and my mom would have on Maury and Jerry Springer in the morning.
Yes.
Those shit was on raunchy hours.
Raunchy. And it was on in the daytime too. And it was so ratchet.
It was so ghetto.
It was like trash. And everybody. It was like all types of people on there that was trash.
Literally.
So I feel like, not gonna lie, Maury and Jerry Springer paved the way for reality TV. I ain't gonna hold you, but that's another conversation we'll get into. The reason why we're talking about this today is because Maury went on the Sherry talk show and told Sherry that the only time he would come out of retirement is if he could get Nicki Minaj and Cardi B to have a sit down and a conversation, and they will conduct a lie detector test. And I heard this and I was gagged, bitch. I was shocked.
He is messy for that.
Very.
And like, what? The fact that that's what's going to bring you out of retirement is messy as fuck.
Right.
Maury.
And he knew what he was doing.
Right.
He knew what he was doing.
Right.
You knew that shit would go viral, which it fucking did, right?
That's mad funny being that old and still being messy like that.
Still being messy like that. And I think that it causes us to have a really important conversation here. Because when it comes to baddies, Bad Girls Club, or anything like reality TV, when it comes to black people are so quick to say, oh my God, it's tearing the black community down, da 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 da. But no one says anything when you see other people of different cultural backgrounds act just as messy.
Right.
Like, why can't it just be messy, ratchet TV? Why does it have to become this notion of, oh my God, you're tearing black people down. Oh my God, that's low vibrational. I now look down on you because of this. But you were not looking down on the Maury show.
It's crazy because Rolly from Baddies was on Jerry Springer.
Right.
And she went on there and was like pouring
Alfredo
sauce all over her. And not that she was famous enough to even be focused on her. Or maybe there wasn't social media where you can see how other people felt. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a thing that our neighbor said where it's like, wow, look at this girl pouring Alfredo on herself. She's representing the black culture and bringing us down.
Right.
Never heard that. Have you?
I didn't hear that.
Right. And now
we didn't even know she was on Jerry Springer.
Correct. Now that she's on Baddies, it's like, oh, this is ghetto. You representing the Black community, and it's not a good representation of it. You're bringing our people down.
Right.
You know, we have years of being portrayed a certain way.
Right.
You represent us as an educate. All the nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this shit existed way before you.
Right.
And they're gonna exist way after you.
And my thing is, Jerry Springer's show was ratchet as fuck.
Ratchet.
Maury's show was ratchet as fuck, but no one fixed their lips to say anything about them or their platforms.
Yeah, because honestly, they are the representation of the show. I mean,
but
just because they're white and old,
that's what I'm saying.
Doesn't mean they're not messy or ratchet.
Right. But you see how they wouldn't call them that, though. And there would not be this conversation of, oh, you're bringing down the white community, or you're bringing down, like, that conversation wasn't a thing. People just enjoyed that fucking raunchy entertainment, and that's just what it was. But every time you see something along the lines of like Baddies or Bad Girls Club, or, you know, when it gets to the point where they feel like it's too messy, even though people been being messy, right? Then we start to have these conversations, which to me, it's hard, because I can understand where the conversation comes from, right? It comes from a place of, you know, Black people are tired of getting looked at in specific stereotypical lights, right? So because of that, there's this overcompensation to constantly prove that, oh my God, we are so much more than the stereotype. We are not this, we are not that the media is portraying, which I understand that part of it, right? But at the same time, by doing the overcompensation, you're kind of putting yourself in a box in a way, and I kind of don't like that.
Exactly.
And that's the part where, to me, it feels very limiting. Like, you're saying that Black people cannot be multifaceted. Like, you're saying that Black people, they're not different types of Black people. We only have to be a certain way to be accepted, when, to be honest, you could do whatever the fuck you want. So I feel like having this belief of trying to overcompensate to prove yourself to white media that Black people, there are good ones, and that there are ones that aren't so ghetto and messy, it just almost feels like you're contributing to a stereotype of keeping your own people down. And it's a weird science behind it. It's a weird thing to think about, but you really got to lock in and critically think about it, because it is limiting in a way.
I'd like to just get your opinion on how I see it, because I feel like it's a mindset, and it's a mindset that has been, it comes from a place of historical trauma, right? And shit like that. But, you know, I'd like to say it could be an equivalence to, imagine that the Asians said, why would you become a hibachi chef, when all it does is it exaggerates what Americans believe our culture to be, and it's disrespectful, because we are more than just these loud noises on utensils and shit like that. We're more than just this. But instead of criticizing their own, they're making bread, they're just making money, and that's all it really is. But you don't see that narrative whenever you hear about like hibachi's so normalized, right? Like,
I fucking hate hibachi.
But like, despite how we feel about it,
yo, don't get me started. I fucking hate hibachi. That's not even like a real thing.
Right. And so I just feel like, again, going back to the same thing, you can look at so many versions of culture and have that same narrative if you really wanted it to be. So I find it interesting that it's predominantly in the Black community that you see that. I could be wrong, and I'm open to criticism and to have that conversation, because, you know, being a Latina, you know, they have novelas, they have their own shit going on, and it's not really a conversation I've heard. But I mean, I'm sure there are people that have said that, but it's not as strong as when you see, you know, Zeus Network doing their thing. Other Black people are like, oh, this is unacceptable. We shouldn't represent ourselves in this light.
And they've been saying it even before Zeus Network. So like, they said it with Bad Girls Club. They said it with Love and Hip Hop. They said it with Black Ink. They said it with, of course, when there are specific shows where you see like a huge representation where there's mostly Black individuals or Black women on the show, that's when you hear these conversations. And like you said, going back to what you said you don't hear those things in your community in terms of saying you're bringing us down by doing this.
Right, exactly. Like, for example, I think a great example would be 6ix9ine. He is a Mexican rapper. He's Mexican. And you don't hear the Mexicans say, you're tearing us down, you're a snitch, because, the streets called him a snitch. Right. But the Mexicans aren't focused on the fact that you're representing Mexico or Mexicans in this light. You're embarrassing us. They actually embraced him when he decided to become a rapper or like do Spanish music. They embraced him.
Wow.
And he had a bigger audience in Mexico.
Wow.
So it really is interesting, like I would like to have a conversation to understand more so why, or people's perspectives on why that is. You know what I mean?
Why? I feel like it dates back to a lot, given the history and the trauma and slavery and the mental conditioning of, Black people trying to be accepted by white people, whether you were biracial, mixed with white, whether you passed the brown paper bag test, say work in the house, as opposed to working in the field.
Right. There was a lot of pitting against each other.
There was a lot of mental conditioning to put Black people against each other. The separation with the household slave and the field slave, even though you were both slaves at the end of the day, right? There was a lot of that for more than 400 years, okay? So now when you come to this now, there is a huge divide within the community, and that's what I feel this is. And that's why I say what I say, like that it's limiting to us, because instead of saying, okay, this is their choice. They're consenting to this and they're making money. And at the end of the day, it's entertainment, which there can be obviously some toxic things that we can talk about that you don't agree with, and that's fine. But to sit there and say you're destroying an entire community when there are many different faces and sounds and personality traits to Black people, like it's not 100%. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I find it funny how it's those same people that'll say, this is a bad representation of us, but then they're also the same people that say, stop tearing down Black men and let Tory Lanez and Diddy, get away with what they got away with. So it's very hypocritical, you know what I'm saying? Like you pick and choose when you want to apply that. And it just seems a little backwards as to like the moral standpoint of things. So like, if you are that type of person to say, you're tearing us down, you're representing us in a bad light, why would you not say the same thing to when Tory Lanez is being accused of shooting Megan? Why wouldn't you say the same thing about Diddy when he's accused of hurting all these victims? You know what I'm saying? So I find it very interesting. I do. And I don't know if it's more of a sexist thing, because again, reality TV, most of these things are girls, right? Let's be real. And who we talk about when they say stop tearing the Black man down, it's always the man.
You are eating! You are eating right now! Because this is true.
It's a good conversation.
This is a great conversation. That's a great fucking point, because you realize when it comes to the Black man, no matter how evil, no matter how fucked up he could be, oh, you're tearing down the Black man. Oh, right? But when it comes to women, we're not listened to. And this goes back to the whole thing of how the Black woman is always like the lowest of the low, the bottom of the barrel, and get treated as such in the media and in all aspects of life, even by their own Black men. Okay, let's call it for what the fuck it is, because that happens a lot. Not saying that every single Black man is like this, but there are a lot that perpetuate those same stereotypes to define why they don't like Black women, which is really interesting. And it's like, if that's not your preference or your type, that's okay. But when you start to name the stereotypes and you're like, this is why, you can see that this is clearly a racial thing now. Like, this is a racial profile thing that you're doing. You didn't really have an experience. So now when they see baddies or when they see Bad Girls Club, it perpetuates the same thing, right? And so this is why you have the same conversation of like, oh, I'm tired of this. Can we get something else? But the reality is we have other things. You just have to look for it.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're in 2026. We're about to be in 2026. The culture has completely, expanded. There's
That's
more
what I'm saying. I know it took us a long time to get here, but my thing is like there have been other, like even sitcom TV shows like that explored like Black culture and stuff like that. We've had that. Like, so if you're not watching that or you're not going to there, then I think that's a you thing. Don't really bash what other people like to watch as entertainment and then try to bring down an entire fucking community when at the end of the day, we are like, again, multifaceted. There are Black people in STEM. There are Black scientists. There are like, you know, Black women who love to read. Like, and then there are Black women that are still smart, educated, classy, and still like a little bit of ratchetness on the side here and there.
Yeah,
and that's
100%.
okay too. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to be a specific version just for us to be accepted into the fucking masses. Like, fuck that shit, yo.
And to be honest with you, I've met some really great people and wholesome people who are normal as fuck, who watch baddies.
Right.
Literally people with careers.
Right, that watch baddies.
Literal, like, good careers. Like, what do you call it? Models, therapists, actors. I mean,
it's crazy.
Barbers.
The list goes on and on.
From all over. So it's like, it's interesting. And it's
annoying that we have to like touch on race, but it kind of does become a race thing because the community kind of makes it that way. Like, you know what I mean? They say it's tearing the Black community down. You're spreading, you know, negative connotations about Black women in the media. It becomes that, right? Because of history, because of all of these things. But what bothers me is when Maury said what he said about setting up two Black women to have a conversation in a real beef. This wasn't no internet shit. Real fucking beef. No one said nothing about Maury.
Right.
And I think that was something that was alarming to me. But if it was a Black woman saying something like this, it would have been a different narrative. So that is the part that I don't really like, the discrepancies when it comes to, you know, he gets to do this. He gets to do this and go back to his normal white life. But as soon as a Black person does it, it's like, you're this, you're that, you're a thug, da-da-da-da-da.
Well, first, we also have to keep in mind, though, that we wouldn't know how it would pan out because at the end of the day, it didn't happen. It happened one way. However, you are right. The possibility of it happening, it's definitely possible because we see it time and time again and play out in other places.
Right.
But, you know, I don't think anything Maury said was wrong.
No, I don't. I mean, listen, I'm here for that, right? I mean, I've watched the Maury show. I've watched the Jerry Springer show. I love what they created. I like that they paved the way. This is no shade to them, but just like the reality of what is, you know what I mean? And I just think it's interesting that no one said nothing about him. But why is it that when it's Black, all of a sudden the narrative changes?
It also is interesting because like DJ Vlad is an example of a white man that kind of benefits off of Black culture when he's white. And so they criticize DJ Vlad, which I don't like him, by the way. Yeah. But this is like, again, me being open-minded enough and open to understand that, you know, there is this double standard. Maybe it's favoritism because Maury's a legend, I guess, like in that field. But you know, when DJ Vlad got involved and when he gets involved, especially in BLM stuff or like shit like that, controversial situations within the community, they're like, oh, look, what do you have business in Black people business or whatever? You shouldn't even be talking on Black people business and shit like that. But it's like, I mean, Maury does the same thing, right? Like,
right. This is where it gets a little tricky. I
just feel like I hate that the conversation is even a thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, why can't there just be like different forms of media? And like, we just understand that this is a different form of media. That's it. Like, why does it have to get so deep to the point where you're literally signaling out the race in this area? And it's like, I get it because of history, right? But now this is just entertainment. Like, can I enjoy the entertainment without you making me feel like I'm contributing to tearing down the Black community because I like a little bit of ratchet TV? Like, damn.
Yeah, trust me, there's a lot more people out there that are doing worse things to the Black community.
Thank you. Like, me enjoying a show, I promise you, is not it. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going out there and actually doing these things. And I feel like there are people that have that conception that if you watch that, then you are about that and you're doing that. But not everybody is. There are some people that are, but then there's people that regular, like you said. And then there's other people that are of different backgrounds too that watch. And I noticed something too. And I hate to bring this up, but I've noticed that this is a pattern when it's someone that is not Black. They don't get any criticism when they're talking about baddies. And I don't see it. In the comments, I be looking. I don't see it. But then when it is someone that is Black, there's a mix. It's like sometimes, and especially if you're a woman, oh God, if you're a woman, right? There's like mixed reviews. Then there's hate. Then there's criticism. Then there's agreement. But then there's like mixed reviews coming at, talking about you as a Black woman. It's a lot. So I just think it's just interesting. And it's our own people. And when I say our own people, I mean my own Black people doing it. So to me, it just, why do we do this? Like, can I just watch a show? Like, I don't know.
All right, so I do have, I guess, a food for thought, because we know how social media works, right? And I feel like, do you think that it's possible that the reason why you see a majority of Black people criticizing is because not only is a majority of the audience Black people, but also the algorithm, like I just feel like, okay, like if Zeus Network in particular, like let's just say, I don't know their demographic, but I would assume that it's predominantly Black, Spanish audience that watches. Not to say that white people don't or Asians don't, but as far as them being them, I think they're the minority. I would think that they're the minority. So in social media, because social media is not a representation of real life, it's a selective, especially depending on the algorithm. Do you think that the only reason why you see a lot of Black people commenting that and stuff like that are because that's mainly the audience? Like,
yeah, I agree. I think so. Duh.
So do you think that can skew the perception of also how you feel as well? Because maybe in reality, there aren't many Black people that feel like that. It feels like it's a lot because everyone who feels that way is commenting all at once in one section. But when you really spread the numbers out throughout the entire country or throughout the world, however far Zeus Network goes, what if the numbers is actually small and the social media makes it feel more than what it is?
You know what it is? It's because outside of social media, I've experienced this too, where you mention it and people get weird, or they're like, oh, it's just toxic. Oh, it's just low vibrational. Like even at the event, our show, most everybody in the room said like they wouldn't go on a reality TV show because they are coming from the whole perception of it's toxic. And okay, you know, that's fair.
It's funny because like when we had certain people at the event, they thought that it was almost like we were gonna fight on the stage because
it's fucking weird.
They were like, you know, like we have to also integrate mental health because of this, and it almost made it feel like do you think our podcast is that? Because I don't know, it's just, again, but going back to that negative negative representation or idea of what reality TV is.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the energy. I feel it. Like whether it's through social media, whether it's through an encounter with a mentor, or whether it's through an encounter with someone outside or a group of people, like you even hear people literally tell me like, I love it, but I don't say that I love it because I know like it's toxic, but it's my guilty pleasure. Like the fact that it's even called
have heard that
a guilty pleasure lets you know that what it is. But I just think it's interesting that Maury and Jerry Springer can get away with their shit though.
Yeah.
That's the part that kills me.
And people can say, yeah, I fucked with Maury. And it's never really, and they're like, yeah, that shit was crazy. Like it's never like, oh, I can't say I fuck with it because I don't want people to judge me. Exactly. Or I work in a certain job that I just don't want, you know, I don't want that to be known for that. Or people not getting jobs because they were on Zeus, but Jerry Springer's okay. Maury's okay. That shit was rad. That was literally reunion shows. Yeah. Literally the origins of like a reality show reunion. That's what that was. Each fucking episode. People was fighting on that show. Security was breaking it up. Just like Bad Girls Club, just like Baddies, just like Love and Hip Hop, just like Mob Wives, just like Jersey Shore, just like all of them. But I love how Jersey Shore, you don't hear that. You don't hear that type of, oh, you're giving people a bad look. However, I did hear that some people did not like, the Italians did not like Mob Wives because they did say like, oh, it's giving Italians a bad look. But that was like a small number of people. It wasn't like a whole thing. And I'm wondering if maybe because to me it was small is because I'm not in that community. That's what I'm saying, right?
So maybe, I don't know, because I did hear that there were Italians that were like, nah, I'm not fucking with that. And I heard that some of the, you know, husbands that were in the mob divorced their wives that were on the show because they were like, you're like kind of snitching or you're like telling my business and then you're making us look bad type shit. So to each their own, but I never heard nothing about Maury. I never heard anything about Jerry Springer. And I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about someone saying that you're trying to pit two black women against each other. I'm surprised I haven't heard that.
I'm surprised I haven't heard that either.
Because that's messy as hell.
Yeah.
Considering how they literally fought at a Met Gala. Like, do you really think that these two women could be in a room together?
No, they can't.
Like, Cardi B's from the fucking Bronx and Nicki's from Queens. Let's be so for real right now.
What a crazy
combo. They cannot be in the same room together. Like, Nicki's from Southside Jamaica. Like, right. What?
Down the block.
That ass. Like, what? And then Cardi, that ass from the Bronx. Like, you really think these two could be in a room together? Let's be so fucking for real. And he knows that, which is why he said it.
Right.
And that would obviously be like the biggest sit down ever. But it reminded me that, like, okay, Zeus Network has something like that too. The conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just without the lie detector test.
Exactly. No, I agree. And I think it would be great content, but at the end of the day, it just wouldn't make sense for none of the girls. Like, let's be real, they're above that.
Agreed.
They are mothers. Like,
it's done.
To do all of that, knowing the tension, knowing that it gets real in real life. Like, they not. You can dangle all the money in the world. I feel like ain't none of them agreeing to that. Maybe Nicki will agree if she says Trump is gonna sit next to her, but you know. But, and then, Cardi not showing up because she can't stand that motherfucker. So,
Cardi's not talking. Like, I feel like after everything that happened with their internet beef on Twitter, you really think they can be in the same room together, do a fucking lie detector test? Let's be so for real. And my thing is, if it was Jason Lee that said that, everybody would attack him. But because it's Maury, no one attacked Maury, but it's just as messy.
And just so you know, we're not advocating for people to attack Maury.
No, we're not. But it's interesting to see the reaction in the media and the human behavior as to how they respond to someone like Maury as opposed to someone like Jason Lee, who we know is very messy, right? Or Natalie Nunn, right? Or just anyone else that was on reality TV or that kind of produced the same shit he produced. Why doesn't he get the same energy? I guess is my question. And that's all. That's all. There definitely is something there. There's something there, and it ties, unfortunately, into race and unfortunately into sexism.
Does it tie into race, or could it be like an age thing as well? Like
it could be that. It could be all three.
Because imagine like how people look coming for the old man. You know what I'm saying? He's a legend.
He been old. Like, I feel like he's been old doing this shit. He's been old. But my thing, y'all come for everyone else talking about you getting old, stop doing this. Like, y'all come for everyone else. But him,
But that was a different time, too. So, you know what I mean? That was like a different, like, we knew him old.
That's what I'm saying. You were doing this messy shit old. Like, it was iconic for people to run away from the camera after they was like, you are not the father. Like that. That was so iconic. That's what made his show like really good. Like, Jerry. Exactly. The live audience, that ass reunion shows.
Hell yeah.
Like, that shit is the OG.
Yeah, I used to I'm not gonna lie though. Like, I was young, so like I used to be like, why is this shit on TV?
No, I would be invested.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was watching, and then they would have reruns. I would watch every episode.
Really?
I was into TV.
You really have always been about that life.
I've always been into like ratchet TV, reality TV, all that.
It would be in the background, and sometimes I'll watch it. Then I'll be like, "This is nasty. Like, this is so ugly."
I would be watching that shit. Do you remember that show Next? You don't know that show? Oh, it was my show. Yo, when they would get off the bus and like basically they would want to be hooked up with like for example, it was four guys or some shit. So they would be waiting outside the bus and they get off. If they like them, they could proceed and have a conversation. If they don't, next. It's like pop the balloon, yeah. But like just old school version without the balloons, and they would just sometimes be yelling next before they got off the bus, and I would be cracking the fuck up. Yo, I loved back in the day TV. Okay,
they don't make it like that no
more. They don't. But yeah, that is it. That's all I want to say about this.
Yeah, I mean it was a quick conversation, something that we observed online. You brought it up, and you know, it builds for good conversation. I'm curious to know what you guys think about, like, what we had to say. Well, what do you think it is? Are we looking too much into it? Is it not that deep? Like, you know, like the same way, you know, the internet's going to talk. Is it ever that deep? Do you guys feel that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? So I just think, I do see the difference, and I think 6ix9ine, like I said, is a great example of. I really was surprised that the Mexicans embraced him because I don't fuck with 6ix9ine. But even when I look at him, I don't sit there and say you're a bad representation for the Latino culture. So
I never heard anyone say that.
Right. So it's just like, and he's like literally accused and been accused of terrible things.
And
has
you're
done
in that community, so you would have seen it if that
right.
was the case.
Oh, yeah,
and you didn't see that.
100%. So I don't know. These are conversations to be had. I'm curious to know what you guys think.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know. Let us know where you're from too. Let us know if you've even heard anything about any other reality show that is just not Black, and if you heard a different narrative. Like, let me know. I know some people, like with the Italians, okay, get it together. With the Italians, I heard that the Italians was like, we ain't fucking with that. But I don't know if there's anything else. Also, I was on TikTok. I saw that they had like a Arabic version of Love Island, and the men on there be fighting every day.
Oh.
They be like, oh, this is like baddies, but Love Island, but like with men. And I saw clips. I'm like, yo, this is mad ratchet.
That's crazy.
But everybody was like, I need this now. I need to watch it. I didn't hear nobody saying, oh, you're making our community look bad. You know? So I just thought it was so funny. I was like, I need to watch it too. Shit.
Yeah.
But I was like, all these men fighting on the show. Like, it was crazy. But yeah, without that, shit, let the people know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on Instagram. That's JESSI-Strange. And where can they find you, Tiana?
You guys can find me on Instagram at RandomVideo1. You guys can find us on Instagram at The Petty Headquarters. You guys can find us on YouTube and all podcast platforms at The Petty Headquarters. We release episodes weekly, y'all. And with that being said,
this was your weekly dose of mess.